So what if the creator of humanity decided to give a speech from the Tokyo Dome? It's an extraordinary claim, and it's exactly what we're diving into today. A religious leader has come forward saying he's returned to guide a world that's on the brink of a massive choice. We're going to break down his message, piece by piece, to really understand the prophecy he laid out for our times. Let's get into it. Here's how we're going to walk through this. We'll start with his incredible claim about who he really is. Then, we're going to journey into the secret, cosmic history of humanity, as he tells it. That backstory sets the stage for a modern global crisis, which he frames as the true battle for our future, and it all builds to what he calls the divine choice facing every single one of us. Okay, so right out of the gate, the speaker sets up some immense stakes. He's not just offering suggestions. He claims he's here as a guide for the entire human race. And he's speaking now because he believes we've hit a critical fork in the road, one that will decide our very future. He actually kicks things off by asking the audience this question. It's a way of immediately positioning himself as someone with unique, global authority. It's a really bold rhetorical move, you know? It's designed to frame his words as totally singular in their reach and importance, basically implying that no one else on the planet has the standing to deliver this kind of message. And to back up that claim to global authority, he points to the numbers. His speech wasn't just happening in the Tokyo Dome, it was being broadcast live to 3,500 locations all over the world. He also brings up the fact that he's published over 2,200 books. For him, these figures aren't just stats, they quantify the incredible scope of his mission and his influence. And this is the foundation for everything else he's about to say. He claims he is Alpha, the original creator god who first put life on Earth. And the reason he's back now? He says our civilization is staring down the one choice that will determine its survival or its extinction. Now, to justify a claim that huge, the speaker argues we first have to understand a history that's way, way older than what science tells us. He lays out this cosmic backstory that basically tries to reframe everything we think we know about where we came from. The timeline he presents is just staggering. He claims humanity's origins don't go back thousands of years, but 300 to 400 million. And within just the last million years, he says there's been a cycle of 7 major civilizations that have risen and then fallen. We are the 7th. And according to him, we're now standing on the very same cliff edge that destroyed all the others. His origin story gets even more specific. He claims humanity didn't just evolve from one single source. Nope. Instead, he says he created us from 3 totally distinct groups. First, there were beings who were materialized directly from spirit into physical form. Then, there were beings from other universes who came here and adapted to Earth. And finally, a third group of hybrid beings who were genetically engineered to thrive in this environment. So, from this massive cosmic history, the speaker suddenly pivots to a very specific, very modern crisis. He points to the nuclear threat from North Korea and says this isn't just another geopolitical problem, it is the single greatest test facing our entire civilization. In his analysis, this crisis didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was the result of 2 big missed opportunities. First, he points back to 1994, claiming the Clinton administration was about to strike, but then back down because they were afraid of over 1 million casualties. Then you fast forward to 2008, when he says the Obama administration was just too distracted by the global financial crisis to act. All of which, he argues, has led us right here, to this moment, a third and final chance to make a decision. The result of all this inaction, as he sees it, is that the world, and specifically the United States, has been backed right into a corner. He frames the situation as this unavoidable choice, a choice with profound, civilization-altering consequences no matter what happens. And here is the choice, just as he presents it. It's a tough one. On one hand, if the U.S. takes military action, he predicts North Korea will collapse, but it will come at the terrible cost of many, many lives. On the other hand, if the U.S. does nothing, he says America will just forfeit its status as a superpower, and the world will lose its global leader, which would create a huge power vacuum. A truly stark binary. But the speaker argues that this whole North Korean dilemma is really just a symptom of a much, much larger conflict. He believes this isn't about one nation versus another. It's an ideological war for the very soul of the planet. He defines this struggle as a global battle between 2 fundamentally opposed systems. On one side, you have what he calls socialist totalitarianism, and on the other, you have freedom and democracy. For him,
Every single geopolitical event, including this crisis, is just another skirmish in this much bigger war.
To illustrate the difference, he uses this really stark analogy about press freedom. In the USA, he says, a critical news anchor might annoy the president. In Japan, they'd probably get invited to dinner to talk it out. But in Russia, he claims, they'd be assassinated. In China, they'd be jailed or purged. And in North Korea, well, a TV station that's critical of the leader simply could not exist in the first place. He then uses this vivid comparison to pose a really direct question to the audience. He asks, knowing these different outcomes, which of these countries would you choose to be reborn into? He argues the answer to that question reveals a universal human desire for freedom, and that therefore points to which system is more aligned with a just divine order. And this is what leads us to his ultimate conclusion. The choice facing the United States and the world isn't just political or military. He frames it as a spiritual test for all of humanity, one that's being overseen by a higher power. This quote really gets to the heart of his entire argument. He believes that things like patriotism and national interest, they aren't the highest law. The ultimate standard is divine justice. A nation, he says, only has the right to defend itself if it's a nation that God himself would see as worthy of defending. So ultimately, he's saying this isn't about choosing the lesser of two evils. It's about humanity demonstrating that it has the ability to choose the path that aligns with these divine principles of freedom and justice. And in his view, the fate of our entire civilization is hanging on whether we get this choice right. Which, of course, leaves a really big, nagging question, right? If every single nation is flawed, and even the democratic ones have, in his view, lost their connection to the divine, how can anyone be certain about the right path forward when the stakes are literally the end of the world as we know it? And this is his final and maybe his most provocative answer. He tells the audience that in this moment of ultimate confusion, of ultimate hesitation, they should listen to his words. And why? Because he claims these are the words of Alpha, the very being who has guided humanity since its creation 300 million years ago. A truly profound claim to authority, and definitely a final thought to leave us with.